This is Sophia Cassiola.
And this is Michael J. Epstein.
Of Blood of the Tribbles.
And you're listening to...
Without Your Head.
Dun dun dun.
All right, and we're back here at the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. And I'm still Nasty Neil.
And I remain Terrible Troy.
Uh-huh. But we have someone new with us here. We have Jim McDonough on the line with us. Short filmmaker. He's a good dude. I like this guy.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey
good to have
guys.
you.
Hey guys, this is I'm McDonough.
McDonough.
And
right.
You know what? I love mispronunciations. Back in like fifth grade,
yeah.
I was in CCD, and my CCD substitute, which is an interesting dynamic, called me McDonut. So this any variation is good I enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can just add it to the list.
Get that one, remember that one, just in case McDonald's ever brings that out and say, look, guys are stealing my name here from many moons ago.
Right.
Like McDougal's in Coming to America, right?
Right.
This reminds me at the Buff. I was thinking about ordering the Crystal Ball with the Starbucks, but instead it was like the iced cinnamon almond milk macchiato. It doesn't really matter what I ordered. But the thing was, the barista kept asking me my name, and then it was like Neil, and then he started asking me my sign, which I thought was like, I don't care. I'm not, it doesn't bother me if this dude was in,
right?
Yeah. But then when I got then I was kind of feeling good about myself. But then I got my coffee, and he wrote down my name was Leo, and then I realized why he was asking me if I was like a Taurus. And then I felt like
it's all connected.
It is.
One of my good buddies that's been in one of my shorts films is a guy that I grew up with named Leo Purcell, actually.
Really?
What do you know?
Very interesting. So I'm sure this is not interesting at all to anyone listening, but
no, not at all. That's my specialty.
Well, you'll fit right in.
Fair
so
enough.
The Tiny Clones was that Buff. That's what the cool kids call it, Buff. Boston Underground Film Festival. And I absolutely love Tiny Clones. And not just because you're on the show.
Thank you so much. And you know what? You actually I heard the best review was from you, which was Black Mirror for Idiots.
Yes. I was hoping that wouldn't offend you. I didn't think it would, but
no, that's I make in many cases crappy films, so that's a high compliment for me.
Yeah, and all kidding aside, obviously it's silly and all stuff, but it also, has like a serious topic in it. And so I loved it. I love the contrast of very, silly green screen and crazy, effects. And then, but also it's like trying to tackle something that is thought provoking. So I liked it a lot.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I kind of, I guess I like the idea of if we had, tiny clones of ourselves, how kind would we be? But then again, I don't really tackle these ideas very seriously, of course. It's, sure. To your point, it's a lot of silliness from there, which is, kind of my trademark, silliness.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I dug it. And that's, you could look at more into that. What, is a clone human? When does it become human? There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Well, the idea of cloning is fascinating because it's basically scientifically possible here, right? They can Barbra Streisand's dogs. Speaking of which, do you guys find it strange that Barbra Streisand's dogs apparently have different personalities, yet they've been cloned? So shouldn't they have the same personalities?
I think that's, to me, no, they would have different personalities because I don't think just being you is what makes you you. I think
this is what's fascinating. Here we go.
Exactly.
And now like Captain Kirk and
exactly
Shinzon here.
Which I think is the most underrated of all the Star Trek films because they ask the question, because Captain Kirk, he's not Captain Kirk. It's Picard who's fighting. I'm thinking of the other one.
Picard and Shinzon, right?
Yeah, right. And Picard's because he's got a clone of Picard who's this evil dude trying to kill everybody. And Picard's like, I wouldn't do this, and he's like, aha, but you would if if you were in the environment I was. And I thought that's very interesting because he still has certain traits of Captain Picard. He's a born leader. He's charismatic, and so if Picard was thrown into something like that, with his with the traits that he has, which maybe he's born with, this is what the kind of person he would have become.
So you're making a fascinating case for nature nurture, right? But what if, like in Barbra Streisand's Dog's case, it's the same nature. It's the same nature and nurture.
Right, it's the same person. Yeah.
But to your point, though, to be romantic, the idea of a soul is something that we all want to be, and me included. I'm romantic about saying, well, that's why Barbra Streisand's Dogs having different personalities is a great sign for me to the romantic notion of a soul, right?
Yeah, you're right, because it's an individual
unique
dog,
even though it's a goddamn clone.
Mm-hmm.
So cloning's fascinating, whether it's tiny clones in the case of my short film or Barbra Streisand's Dogs. It's all good to me. But so Barbra Streisand's tiny we're gonna have tiny clones of her dogs is the sequel.
Nice.
Yes.
There's a great song by professional wrestler Terry Funk called Barbra Streisand's Nose.
I'm not a wrestling, and I appreciate the art in the theater of wrestling, and but I'm sad to say, I think we talked about this the other night at Buff. I'm not,
sure.
I have never been a big wrestling guy, so I don't know.
But I apologize. Yeah, but I don't think even most wrestling fans would know what the song is.
Yeah, I love Terry Funk, but I've never even heard of such a song.
Nice.
It's an amazing song. He put out an album in Japan, so back in the 80s, so it's pretty obscure.
That's tremendous.
I have
get a copy.
cousins in Okinawa, Japan, so I'll try to get a review.
Very, very good. But the thing is, I don't think you have to be a wrestling fan to appreciate the song.
No, to your point, I mean, there's wrestling. There's great, Shakespearean theater and some of this stuff, and like especially, Andre. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the documentary on Andre the Giant coming out
on HBO, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I'm not a huge, I don't have a big wrestling background, but he's quite the character. I'm excited about that for sure.
Mm-hmm. When I saw pictures, and I almost said something, but I don't know how you take it. Where you had your own your real tiny clones at Buff, your children.
Yes. So they're not technically clones; they are my children, but they are. If I could have had clones of me, I probably would have tried that, just because you know what you're getting, kind of thing. But the kids are good too. Mm-hmm. But they so you that was your first time at Buff, and it was as the cool kids call it, Buff Boston Underground Film Festival. It's a great festival, isn't it?
It is. I had a really good time. I was there 3 days, and I could have easily been there all 5 days. But it was a lot of fun. It was awesome to watch the movies and the shorts. It's a cool area. There's stuff to do. There's a lot of places you go to eat when you're hungry and stuff. And it was a great experience, meeting everybody and talking to them and going to the parties at night. So everything about it was a good time. It wasn't like, all the movies are cool, but there's nothing else to do, or vice versa. I like going to the parties, but I don't really care about watching movies. Everything was a really good experience.
Did you catch the Hometown Horror?
I did not. Was that Friday?
That was Friday. Historically, that's a fantastic block. It's curated by Chris Halleck.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the problem was
yeah.
right when that was when I just came into town, and they sold out.
Oh, that's totally true. Yeah, I had a pass as the guy who had a film there, and we got there kind of early, and we almost got locked out too. It goes around the block. It's the 4th year in a row I think they've had this block, and I'm sure as you're aware, like horror is basically the most popular genre on like the local, independent scene here. When I say independent, in the category of like my films, which are like $20 to a couple of grand Kickstarter or who knows, but it's mostly horror stuff. So you get a ton of quality, and like the whole block is really phenomenal. It's all New England. But yeah, it was really great.
That is an interesting term, though, independent film, because, like you said, it could be someone who makes something, for a few bucks. It could be someone who makes something for, tens of thousands. Could be somebody who makes something for hundreds of thousands. I think even some movies that, for a few million are considered independent.
It's all relative, yeah. I mean, in theory, a $1 million film in certain categories, for sure, that is an independent film, right? It's just, it's all relative, in the space of the fact that they typically don't even make adult adult themed movies anymore. Typically, everything's either superheroes or Pixar, which is, I love all of that. But, we don't have a lot of movies like, whatever, Rain Man coming out these days. They come out, but they're typically in that 1 million to 4 million range where, they're not making the mid-market, $30 to $80 million, adult dramas now. So, but it's different. So, but yeah, so independent can be $1 million, I guess, but for me, independent is a whole other animal, obviously, right?
Yeah. I mean, nothing against Tiny Clothes, but I assume it didn't cost $1 million. And if it did, then you probably should, think of other ways to spend your money.
Well, here's what I can guarantee you. Can I tell you? Can I put a million number on it? There was a million atoms in Tiny Clones.
There we go. There's $1 million tiny dollars.
There was millions of.
Yeah. But I had 1 million smiles while I was watching it.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I was really nervous. I get very nervous it's funny because, I've made like probably 40, 50 films with, either myself or my buddies or whatever. And this Tiny Clones in particular, JB Sapienza and I Sapienza, good friend of mine who I met through Phil Healy, who had a great film at the festival, ASL. But JB and I, wrote this one, and he helped me write the last one. So this is my 4th year in a row having a film at Buff. Yet every single time the screenings actually get hotter. So I hope I learn from, make the experience of making these films. But yet the screenings themselves, I enjoy them less and less every year. And this was the worst, the screenings themselves, I think, I'd ask you, I think the reactions were fine. But I get more and more nervous and uncomfortable each year. And I don't know what it is. Maybe, I don't know if it's me or the films. I don't know.
So you didn't, you enjoyed the festival, not your particular screening of your movie.
So, yeah, I mean, the comedy block itself, I loved. And I was dying, and, Year of the Snake I loved, and BFF Girls was fantastic. There was a bunch of great films on the block. So I was totally enjoying everybody's films except for mine. And I think I was I was nervous. I didn't know how it was going. And, I felt like it was well received. But you just, I'm very insecure. I guess like a lot of people make stuff. There's moments where I love it. And I love making every minute of it, but there's moments when I love the final product and I think people are going to like this. And then there's moments where I'm like, I want to crawl in a hole. Maybe they hate it, but I think people liked it. And, most of my films, I feel that way, but, yeah, this must sound like quite an endorsement here.
Well, do you get a lot of reaction afterwards? Do people come up to you at the festival or online?
People were very kind. Yes. Yeah, they were very kind. I think, I definitely felt like at least the people I talked to are very nice and said nice things for sure. Yeah. No, it's more my neurosis for sure. You know how that works.
Yeah, definitely. For how long have you been going to Buff?
So 2015 was my very first time entering a film festival or going into a film festival as a fan or a filmmaker. So that was the first year when I, previous to that, me and my buddy Rob were making films since like around 2008. Everything was just for YouTube. And then, ironically, Michael J. Epstein, who was a guest here with you and him and Sophia, right? Good buddy, has become a good friend of mine, him and Sophia, and him and like Izzy and Diana Porter, Izzy Lee and Diana Porter recommended me sending Manicorn into Boston Underground, which was 2015. I sent that, and went. And then since then I've gone each year, and I've had an absolute blast. And I think, at this point, I mean, it's such a fantastic film festival. Between the type of films they show and the people behind it, and the parties afterwards, and everything about it is just perfect, to the point where I think at this point, this may be sad or uplifting, I don't know, but I think I make half the reason I make films is for the joy of making films, and the other half is with the hope of going back and spending those 5 days with people like yourself and just all the filmmakers. It's just a great experience every year.
Yeah. Izzy Lee has also been on the show before.
She is fantastic. I love Izzy. Yeah, so Izzy's obviously in LA now. She's was in Boston
with Michael
forever.
and Sophia too. Yeah.
Michael and Sophia, yeah. And so I think we talked about this. Michael was, in addition to being a buddy, he was, played 3 roles in one of my shorts that played in Buffin a few years back.
Yeah, which I watched earlier, which was awesome. I didn't realize he was in it till I saw him pop up. Yeah,
there's 3 of them in there.
Did he play 3 different roles, or he was in 3 different shorts?
He plays 3 different roles. He's the man at the store, and then he plays 2 different. He plays twins that don't like each other. That's actually, now that I'm realizing, it's funny. I don't realize what I'm thinking about until I take a step back. But so Michael J. Epstein in this film that we're referencing, it's about idioms, like quick, cold turkey.
Which I love this concept.
So yeah, the idea is, there's a certain idioms that we all know. Quick, cold turkey, for example, or shooting fish in a barrel, and typically we know the origins, or we think we do. We know the reference point. And I decided to tell the stories of the origins, yet I just made it up. I just made up the idea of where these things came from. So Michael, the first one's called Idioms Origins Volume 1. I had this plan of doing like 10 of these. And so I made 2 of them. But the first one Michael was in, and he plays, a guy at a store, but he also plays twins that kind of hate each other. So I'm realizing between that and Tiny Clones, which is not only about, man and the tiny clones he tortures, it's also about his brother, who's also his twin. And not to give too much away, there's some weird dynamics there too. So I don't have any twin brothers, but apparently I'm obsessed with this stuff. I don't know why.
Yeah. You don't have one that you know of.
Oh, goodness. Geez. Yeah. In this dimension. Yeah. Don't get me going on dimensions. Yeah.
If he's out there listening, call into the show. But it was weird because just a few weeks ago, before I knew about these, I wrote some on Facebook because I was like wondering where did the saying, like, beating a dead horse come from? Was there like a time people just like beat horses to death and then just kept doing it? Way past their death.
Let's
like,
hope
where
not.
did this? I know it is a very bizarre saying if you think about it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about so many of these idioms. They're so weird, but we all know the reference point, and sometimes they they make sense. Like, shooting fish in a barrel. I was like, oh yeah, if a fish was in a barrel, I could hit that. So that one makes sense. But then there's some like in a pickle, or quick, cold turkey. A lot of these don't make any sense. So, if you're going to tell me there's something that makes no sense, I'm going to tell you a ridiculous story of where it came up, and no one can prove it's wrong. So that's the idea. So I plan on telling a bunch of these. I ended up telling 2 of them that are on YouTube, Idioms Origins Volume 1. And then the other one's Idioms Origins Another Tale, which is, I think the idea originally was going to just sell them one by one, but then, the challenge is no one's watched. Once in a while, one of these videos will go, mini viral, but for the most part, no one's like seeking these videos out. And so it's hard enough to get someone to watch your first movie. But if you're telling like sequel stories, people are like, oh man, if I didn't, I don't even want to watch this thing. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to bother with starting.
I'm not going to watch part 3, right?
No.
Yeah. I'm sorry to laugh at that, but it's very
funny.
Funny.
Man, it's like YouTube, hey, it is what it is. But once in a while, though, you get a little lucky.
Yeah.
And it's like a little scratch ticket, and you get, boom, wait, hold on. That was like my Manicorn, that one, and then the other ones I think people like, but it's hard to get things.
I
to
did
kinda
love the
catch fire.
Manicorn too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I like to you get a lot of miles out of the fake mustache.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
I have a job and I don't make any money with these movies. But if the things really crash in my current economy, the one that I make money, I think I could start a mustache store. And, I specialize in mustaches, but I do have I've got a lot of wigs and a lot of I just got a lot of good stuff in the basement.
Beards. So
Beards.
do you have
Chest hair.
So do you just keep all this where do you keep all this stuff?
Well, so the most of the films, not all of them, or elements of all the films, pretty much is green screen in the basement. Sometimes I get out of the house, which is rare, but so downstairs it's a messy basement with it's not done over or anything, and it's there's tons and tons of masks. So what's happened here is I have this annual game plan because the budget on these films is anywhere from $7 to $100 when I'm getting really kind of crazy. But every year the day after Halloween I'll go buy a bunch of random stuff because it's like 80% off, right?
Yeah. Troy and I have done the same thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You guys are smart men. Yeah, so you go. The Manicorn wasn't a Halloween deal, but it was the same kind of idea. So I bought the mask, or in the case of other Halloween items or things that I would buy over time, typically a lot of times the prop would come first, and then the idea and the movie would come second, kind of thing. So that's how you can keep the budgets really low. Have you ever heard of Robert Rodriguez's book, One Man Crew?
No.
So his story is really fascinating. So Robert Rodriguez, he's part of that early, new wave independent film guys, and he made he went out and lived in Mexico and got he basically was living in a hospital, getting research done with him, having strange. I could be wrong on the specifics. I read the book a few years back, but he basically was an experiment. For $7,000 that allowed him to then go make his movie. And when he went to go make his movie, he said, his advice after, making that, which ended up being he thought it was just going to be a movie to help him make other movies, but ended up being a pretty, big hit. But he was like, I got a tortoise. That's high production value. Shoot around a tortoise. I have, this weird guitar. The main character's gonna. I ironically haven't seen the film, but the book's amazing.
Mariachi.
Yeah. The book's amazing, and the idea of shoot around what you have, So that keeps the budget's low to none.
Yeah, I think Lloyd Kaufman has said similar things.
He's a character. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, the thing is. I don't know. It's a quantity discussion too. But for someone like me who's got a full-time job, I got an 8 and 6-year-old. The fact that I can make, at least 1 to 2 films a year at night around the green screen, around what I have. And granted, maybe none of these are, masterpieces, but I think that's better than the one idea that one person potentially wants to make for 5 years that doesn't make,
Right.
And I have a lot of fun doing it. And I think a lot of these ones, they do, they get good reactions, and I like to kind of shit on it. And in a lot of ways I do feel like a lot of it's crap, but I think every one of them I think is great for me, meaning I enjoy watching them. I enjoyed making them. And then I think for a certain audience, they really love them. And then the rest of the world thinks it's crap, which is cool,
Yeah. No, I mean, a big thing to me is your personal enjoyment. We do the show here. If no one listened, I don't know if I do it, but I enjoy doing it, and yeah, and and hey, the movies they're at festivals, so that's something.
Yeah,
it is something,
awesome.
Yeah, and I'm probably too much, but yeah, no, you're right, and I think honestly, I mean, I'm really into comedy, and I'm into all kinds of stuff. But I think I tend to gravitate to try and attempt to make comedy, and most of the stuff I read and research is comedy related. And I think most of the comedy guys that I enjoy, and this is not my intention, but most of them tend to, they're constantly trying. If you're not taking risks in any way, you're really not. It's kind of hack in some way. I'm not saying it's always hack if you're doing the same thing, but it can be. I think it's more fun to kind of try to do something new and unique each time, and with that comes, it's not a safe place, and when it's not a safe place, maybe it's sometimes a little dirty, and it's sometimes not as polished, but sometimes you can get to a little bit more of your own truth, I guess. In any ways, I don't know, but it's better to go that route, for me at least, than maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I could make some I don't know, but there's certain things on YouTube that I think are kind of big hits that are boring to me, and it's awesome that it's really exciting for others, but I would never want to like make, even if I didn't like appeal to my excitement as a creator, even if it was millions of hits, I wouldn't be worth it, if that makes sense,
No, I 100%. Those the idioms are origins, another tale. That one had a lot of effects and stuff going on, and it really actually had kind of a Gilliam vibe to me. Some of the
Gilliam, I love Gilliam. Brian, that's so funny. We're Facebook buddy friends. We talk a lot on Facebook. He's such a good guy, and I respect the heck out of his talents. And he's such a generous guy with everything. He's a great guy. He's a great filmmaker too.
Oh yeah, but is that one of your influences,
Brian Lanaro?
Well, I meant Gilliam, but yeah.
I think when you say Gilliam, you were talking about Gilliam, the short film, right? The Brian.
No, I meant Terry
Gilliam. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm sorry, but Brian Lanaro is amazing.
Brian is amazing. Yeah, he is great. I've been watching his stuff.
I thought you were talking. Oh man, sorry for that. No, he's amazing. Yes, as well, and it's embarrassing. But yeah, no. Terry's, he's kind of, the only thing that bothers me about him recently is, there's some kind of dark tale stuff coming about sadly about all our idols, oftentimes, but he's not, he's kind of, whatever. But yeah, so some of his films and his involvement with Monty Python. I love the early Monty Python stuff where it's got that cheap effect looks kind of stuff. Tim and Eric are huge influences for sure.
Oh yeah, I love Tim and Eric as well.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been making stuff for only about 10 years, and it's honestly, I think them specifically more than anyone. Them and there's childhood influences like the Muppets and stuff like that.
Yep.
Oh God, yeah, I still that's still part of my DNA. But I think it was Tim and Eric because they made a show about not the most absurd. Like, there's no, so many of the sketches like, why are they doing this? And that's part of the humor and the amazing.
It's not only funny to me and probably the same similar sense of humor, but it's also something about it. Like, this is on television. This is
on television.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not the only ones that did it. I love The Office and the Larry Sanders Show, where they really embrace the awkwardness of the moment and the silences of the moment. I tend to kind of have a lot of that. There's some of my shorts that are on our channel on YouTube is we go out into the public, and one of them, for example, we pretended to make basically we have this abominable snowman costume, and there's
which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. So we it was right around the time where all the soap operas were going off the air, and we pretended to say, listen, we know soap operas are going off the air. What if we combined soap operas and sci-fi, and we had the soap opera sci-fi network, and there was this instead of All My Children, it was All My Snowmen, and it was the same theme song, but each different characters. So long story short, we made that intro of just different snowmen, and then I went to the streets with Leo, who I mentioned we talked about earlier, and we paid people in the street to give honest opinions. But we told them this was a real show, and they hated it on the street. They absolutely hated the show. And yes, so that's a video we captured on the streets. But yeah, the more for some reason I have that, there's a weird part of my brain that's missing that gets really uncomfortable in public settings. So that's kind of been a theme where I kind of embrace the awkwardness of the moment, whether it's live or, people's reactions on the internet where people really are. So a lot of people, if you look through a lot of the comments on a lot of the videos, the older ones especially, people got really upset about some of these videos, and they're not I don't think offensive anyway, maybe just offensive to talent, in the sense of just the lack of talent's offensive, but it's pretty funny, some of the bad reactions over time.
That's pretty sweet. Did you ever see Tim and Eric's their show before Tim and Eric? It was like Tim Goes to the Mayor.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, did you ever see the one with Michael Ian Black on there? Oh, my God. I quote that one all the time.
It's an amazing show.
It really is.
Normally, if I tell anyone about it, they just think it's terrible. But I love it.
LeBaron. Did you see the Michael Ian Black episode? It's fantastic. Me and my wife quote that one all the time. He comes on to the show, and you remember this one? They kept calling him. No, it's a good show.
I've watched the whole show. I mean, I have the DVD.
Oh, so you've seen it.
I don't know if I remember. I'd have to. It's been a while since I watched it.
It's all good. All good. I get it. I get weirdly obsessive about certain things. In that particular episode, yes, but Tim and Eric are fantastic. They don't do as much stuff together anymore, but I'm sure they'll be back for something.
Yeah, I think last year they did some kind of Halloween special.
Yes.
I remember getting I never watched it though. I don't know what happened. I remember I haven't seen it though.
They are great. I saw them live back in the day when they came to Boston. It was kind of funny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because they were in like one of those, nice theaters, and they're coming out in leotards with just being totally ridiculous. And my wife and my buddy and his girlfriend, that was the most romantic evening night on the town. The kind of quality, guys we are. So. It's my wife Tara and Kevin and his girlfriend Mary, and Mary says to Tara, like, "Isn't it so nice they take us to the theater?" And it's Tim and Eric, marching around doing diarrhea dances, and that was like the night at the theater. That's our night on the town.
And it's like at the Wang Center or someplace like that. Yeah, perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That rules. Yeah, I didn't even know that they were in Boston.
Yeah, this is like, during the run of their show. So this is during their awesome, Tim and Eric's awesome show. Great job was, the title, which was fantastic. So this was during their run. But yeah, it was great. Pretty great. But they still tour here and there.
Mm-hmm. Huh. So how did you meet Michael Epstein?
So forever, since 2008, when we were making these things, it was always just to put them on YouTube. And then one time randomly, I submit, we had a video that won a Shark Week contest that was on TV. It was a contest, a short video about sharks that was on TV. But outside of that, it was either YouTube or nothing. And no one was, it was basic. Some of the videos would get decent amount of views. But one time I saw on Twitter, this great guy named Joseph Bouvier he started hosting this event called the Indie Mafia. Called the Boston Indie Mafia, where the idea was at the Somerville Arts of the Armory. They had a showing where you'd submit your films. It was like not a film festival, but it was like a local event where everyone would send their films, and then they'd pick like 5 or 6 films to screen, and it was like a huge, nice venue, and it was really well done, and they'd have drinks, and it was my first. I submitted Manicorn to that, and it played with a lot of other great local films. And Michael happened to be there. Michael J. Epstein was there. Izzy Lee was there. Diana Porter. And this whole, so many of the great local actors and filmmakers, and, writers in the area were all there that I happened to just to meet that night. So Michael I met that night. And, so that's through that local event in Somerville, basically. But it was not just meeting Michael. It was like a ton of folks that, I met through that night that ended up, I got to know, quite well through there and, the Underground Film Festival as well.
Yeah. But yeah, he's, I forget how I met him, actually. Now I'm trying to remember.
He's a generous and very talented artist. Him and Sophia, they're fantastic. I'm really excited about their new feature that they're based. They're almost done. I mean, they got a little ways to go. Obviously, it's not going to be done for a while, but they've finished all the photography and they're done. Through a few edits here. I'm excited about it. Clickbait.
Yeah, me too. I think it was we had Paul McElharney on the show, and then he had worked with them and. So good. I've never met Sophia. I've talked to her on the show here. I've never. I met Michael once, but I've never met her. Never met her in person.
Yeah, she's the best as well. Yeah, they're really great filmmakers and great people. Yeah, I miss them. Them being out in L.A. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to make Boston Underground the last couple of years. Buff. But that's the beauty of Facebook. Though you feel like you know them. You see them all the time still because they're alive and well there, of course.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched Blood of the Tribbids, I was in rehab, so there's a lot of physical rehab. I wasn't on heroin or anything, but there was a lot of nurses and stuff walking around. So and there was a lot of nudity on my laptop. So I remember that I went and sat in the corner and somewhere and it was. Watching the movie.
Well, it's funny because in that front, so that played at the Boston Underground a couple of years and won Best New England Film, and that same, the thing about the Boston Underground Film Festival celebrates the unique and the weird, and one of the T-shirts I think it was that year, maybe it was the year before, but to your point where you're embarrassed with the laptop. T-shirt actually has like side boob on it, and I'd be like, it's just a cool T-shirt, but I forget that it's right. Person, so I'd be at like a family party, and then my little cousins would be like staring at me, and I'm forgetting that I'm wearing almost by some folks' definition an obscene T-shirt. But, it's funny, yeah, you forget.
yeah, I have a lot of T-shirts like that. That I probably shouldn't wear anywhere, but
you can't have enough good, comfortable, weird T-shirts. That's how I always feel.
I agree 100%. Do you ever have any merchandise for any of your stuff?
It's funny. So for the first time I was wearing T-shirts, I wanted to tell people these. I had bought a bunch because it felt embarrassing. Like people thought I wasn't showering and because all festivals I was wearing. Almost most of the days I would wear a different Tiny Clones shirt. And sometimes they'd be the same color, so it looked pretty suspect. But people would sometimes ask, can I buy one of those T-shirts, right? Mm-hmm. And have you ever seen The Social Network?
Yeah.
So there's this whole, I love that film, David Fincher. And I don't know if it's true or not, but the whole movie. But this one scene where, Zuckerberg, who's played by, what's his name? We know who we're talking about, but he's he's his. It's a great movie, but he's like, they're trying to put ads on the site. They want to put ads on Facebook. Ads would come now, obviously, plentiful, and they figured out a million ways to make money. But at that point, they weren't making any money, and they could have put ads on it. And Zuckerberg's characters, or Zuckerberg is like, we don't want to make $1 million. We want to make $1 million isn't cool. $1 billion, actually, I think this is what's his name? Timberlake's character says it. $1 million is not cool. $1 billion is cool, right? You remember the line? Mm-hmm. So, I'm not selling T-shirts because I could make $100 with T-shirts. $100 isn't cool. Now $200. Now that's cool. So when I get some merch that's ready to make the big bucks, like a couple $100, then we'll talk here. But we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. But I do really like the whoever did the poster art for Tiny Clones. It's pretty awesome.
So John Caron is fantastic. So I met John Caron through. There's an amazing little legacy going on here with the winner of the Best New England Film. So this year, I don't know if you saw the winner. Did you see You didn't probably see the film, but did you meet Maria?
If I did, I don't believe I remember.
So she made the film that won Best New England Film this year. Mm-hmm. It's funny. She's like, I feel like she's a close friend. I'm mispronouncing her name, but Janello. She calls herself the Pug Whisperer, but she won Best New England Film this year for a film called and I'm mispronouncing it because it's a little hard to say, but it's Entropia, I want to say. But it was fantastic. It was in the horror film. But so a couple of years before that, the year before my film won the same award, Phil Haley, J.B. Sapienza, the co-writer on Tiny Clones, and John Caron made a documentary called My Name is Jonah. It was a feature-length film that won the same awards. This the best New England film here at Buff. So I met those guys, through that kind of thing. So, and John Caron was basically was one of the artists on that film, one of the producers on that film. So he ended up doing, the art for Tiny Clones. But it's all a very tiny, small world here with the Boston Underground Film Festival, where, any of the weird horror filmmakers, weird comedies, weird horror or horror period, or a lot of those folks kind of now know each other through the circuit,
Yeah, it's cool that everyone each other and helps each other out too.
Totally. Like in a lot of cases, a lot of these folks have helped me on films, like Timothy Fipe, who I met through the Boston Underground Film Festival. He was, he scored my film this year. Obviously I mentioned J.B. Sapienza. He produced and wrote it, helped, co-write the Tiny Clones with me, who I met, again, through his involvement. And you tend to work with folks that you respect. If I see a film there that, I appreciate one thing or another, and then, you meet them. And someone like myself is not really leaving the basement. So when I get out of the house, typically most of my films, I'm literally in my, my basement on the green screen. So, but when I do have to get out of the house at one of these festivals, I'm meeting, actors like Diana Porter and, talented filmmakers who do different things and who you see their work and you're impressed by, and you see that they're fun and cool to hang out with. It just makes sense to kind of say, ask them to work on the next thing just because, you know them and they're fun and they're cool and they're very talented, and that's kind of almost basically the best and one of the greatest things about these communities, whether it's a festival or any kind of have you heard about the Boston Open Mic for filmmakers? Have you heard about that?
Is that at the Coolidge where I know Coolidge has something like that where you do like I think it's like 10 minutes or under, and the way they sit, they have to show it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's Phil Haley and Adam. So I run Adam Van Horst. They run it, and there might be a few other folks that I'm forgetting. I apologize, but it's been going on for many years, and it's amazing. And it's the idea is once a month. To your point, they invite anyone who comes who brings a film that's 10 minutes or less. They'll screen it, and so it's an amazing experience. If you're making something to get perspective from an audience where maybe you're not ready to submit to a film festival, or maybe you're ready and you just want to get a gauge. So, you're actually getting the opportunity it's like an open mic, but you have a supportive community that starts getting built just because everyone's there together and everyone goes out for a beer afterwards. That's how I met Marino, years back. And so Phil, who's also, producer and filmmaker himself, and Adam, they do a great job of running it. And that's every month. It's worth looking up just because if you're in the New England area and in Boston, and just to get the opportunity to not only, screen your film, but if you're interested in directing or writing or acting or editing or whatever it is, to be able to, get to know folks. And that's how it all happens, as far as making stuff with people, whether it's a film festival or one of these kind of networking, screening nights at the Coolidge. It's really, that's the way to kind of get stuff, go on, meet folks and get things in action,
Yeah, definitely. Tim Feiss, also a very talented guy who I've known for several years. Yeah.
Yeah, he's as kind as he is talented, and I was very lucky to work with him on this new one. It's so coincidental. Have you seen Liquid Sky?
Yeah. So
I had never seen the film, and that played at the Boston Underground on
Wednesday.
Opening night, and I don't know if I think I might have shared the story with you at the festival. I apologize if I'm repeating myself here, but the irony with Liquid Sky was that Timothy, when he was, getting ready to score Tiny Clones, he said, I'm thinking of kind of going with the vibe of Liquid Sky. And at the time, sadly, I was embarrassed. I hadn't seen the movie. I wasn't that familiar with it. And I actually went to YouTube and just looked at the soundtrack. And after about 6 minutes, I was like, yep, we're good. That's perfect. Thank you. And I was like, yes, that's amazing. And then, so, that was coincidentally, before we submitted the film in January. And then the announcements are made that Liquid Sky, on the 35th anniversary, they happen to have a screening on the same weekend as Tiny Clones is playing, which is just bizarre. And then the other kind of strange reality is the Timothy Fife, who had done the score on for Tiny Clones that was based on Liquid Sky, can't make the Liquid Sky screening because he's at the same time they're doing the Liquid Sky screening, he's doing the opening night party music. He's doing music the same time as the screening. So choices to make. I had, between seeing Liquid Sky and supporting Tim, I chose to go to, the party and support Tim, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very cool. And cheap plug for the site. I interviewed the director, Slava Sukerman, before.
No way.
Yeah, which I don't think. I looked it up at the time. I don't think he's done any other podcast. So, as far as I know, it's the only podcast
you
interview.
You should
with
get that
him.
out there. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I'll get that out there. That's exciting.
Yeah, it was a great interview, and unfortunately, he couldn't make. He ended up canceling, I think, because of the weather. It was supposed to be a lot worse than it was, but
it freaked a lot of people out. I was scared, and I live about an hour away. You're about an hour and 20 minutes on our yeah. But it ended up not being bad at all.
Mm-hmm. No, which I was not. I was not. I was very happy about because I had lost power several times in the last couple of weeks, and it's like when I was a kid, I didn't have the internet or a phone or anything. I don't know what the hell I did.
Oh my God! The more stuff we have, the more stuff we crave, right? And do you find that you notice your when your phone's like sitting down on the ground or something, or you're driving and it's like sitting in the console, and it's almost like it's electric. It's like it's calling for you. You're like, oh, let me check, and it's like really kind of freaking. It's becoming part of us. It's kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't have a phone until maybe it was 5 years ago. I just never thought I needed one, and then Annabelle joined the show, and she talked me into getting a phone, and it's been all downhill since then. But but it's probably a good thing I have one, I guess. But
so, how long have you been doing the show?
Since I've been 2006.
Wow, that's awesome.
Troy and I and John, who's no longer on the show, but we started the show in 2006.
Troy, how did you guys meet?
Oh,
Troy and
Neil's
I are
actually
brother.
my brother. Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
I met him when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
9, I think. 9.
No, I was 8.
Who's older?
I am.
Yeah, Troy's older. Yeah. So people don't know we're brothers usually because they say we have different voices. But
yeah, Neil has no accent at all, which is always kind of weird.
That is weird. Well, it's funny. Yeah, if you base, how familiar you are based on your voices, I wouldn't have assumed you're brothers, but that's not how it all works, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They proved that with Barbra Streisand's dogs.
And unlike a lot of brothers, we get along well. But I think a lot of it is because there is a big difference in age.
That's true.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm lucky in that sense too. Me and my brother and sister were very lucky to be cool with each other, which makes me nervous about my true potential as a comedy maker because seems like all the really true greats had really terrible upbringings. What am I going to do here?
Maybe we can torture you or something for a weekend. It'll skyrocket.
It's never too late. It's never too
late. Well, I think I'm trying to torture myself in my films. That's for sure. The Neil, and obviously, it's all about a guy who tortures tiny versions of himself.
Now you see, when Neil had told me about this one, I had wondered if it would be kind of like trading cards. You'd get like a bunch of clones of yourself and trade them with your buddies and get clones of other people, or how that would work out. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, you'll have to. Neil can, can totally share. He'll have to get us a screening here. But it's there is, strangely enough, there's actually I like to world build before, even for these silly short stories ideas. I actually have like a rationale for all of it behind it. Because you have to, I guess, in a way, if you're writing something, you got to kind of dig into the back. I mean, you don't have to, I guess, but it kind of lends. What's that?
Yeah, you probably should, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can hopefully give it a little bit more characters, give it a little more depth if it has a backstory. Right. But it's even if it's the silliest, most ridiculous premise idea possible. But the idea was that if you're cloning yourself, because the process is imperfect, you'll get one where, let's say you're 30% asshole, it's 100% asshole.
Okay.
Which was actually a line that was in the script, that was like part of it that, we ended up just time where it was kind of redundant, but cutting out. But so, one of the clones was going to just be a total asshole. And, but each element of your personality would kind of have an offshoot of these tiny clones. Mm-hmm. So, if you're an asshole, you get one that's all asshole. If you're whatever it is, so that was, I guess what I foresee is maybe some of the early issues with cloning we have to watch out for, just to be aware,
Mm-hmm.
This is a cautionary tale.
I like it. There's a cool short story by Harlan Ellison called How Interesting a Tiny Man. Which
sounds right up my alley.
And it's about this. Well, it's not a clone, but it's a scientist, and he makes like a 3-inch tall man.
That sounds very interesting.
Everything that happens to him.
I'm really, I really love themes. Whatever, I don't know why. Alice in Wonderland has always been near and dear to my heart. Just the idea of not just tiny versions of people, but just the ideas of being stuck in scenarios where you're tiny, everything else is big, which isn't, because Alice in Wonderland isn't necessarily about tiny things. It's about that concept of being, small and big and, off kilter in such a weird book and movie and the old Disney cartoon and the books, of course. But just the whole, I just love those themes. So, Idioms Origins Volume 1 has a bunch of that, where there's dimensions going on, where, in one dimension, there's a car running through a regular world, and then in the next dimension, he's running through my kid's, who's, playing with his toys, and all of a sudden, the guy in the car is on the floor, and my son is chasing him, and, he's, it's a kind of a continuous theme. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it says about me. I don't know what it means, but these themes are continuous for whatever reason.
I like it.
Thank you. So what kind of dog is that? We're actually getting a dog in our households in the next few months. What kind of dog am I hearing in the background?
Shiba Inu. We have 2 of them.
Is that a Japanese style?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are wonderful dogs, I've heard. Are they friendly?
Oh, yeah. Super, super friendly.
Really friendly.
Yeah.
2 of them. Wow.
Kind of high energy. They're a year apart.
Nice.
But if you're looking for a dog about 20, 25 pounds, great dog to get.
Interesting. Yeah, we're going to get something. We're excited. We've never had a dog my whole life, so I'm excited to have a dog. Yeah, for myself, for the kids, and also for. I just have a feeling it's gonna whatever kind of dog I get, it's gonna become part of the. It's gonna become characters in these films. I know it.
Oh no doubt.
No doubt. Dogs in space is I'm seeing it now. It's probably been done, but I can make it better.
Yeah.
Well, as far as dogs, you're going to have to think about, like, if you want like a high energy dog that you're going to play with a lot, or a low maintenance dog. Because I've had both.
Interesting. Did you have like a bulldog before or something?
Well, a pug, who was kind of like a doorstop.
Yeah, those are sweet dogs.
Yeah.
But they're very quiet, right? Interesting.
Yep.
Tough decisions.
Yep.
Yeah, but both Troy's dogs are very cute, very very nice.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen them for a little while, but
Oh no! So you guys are down the Cape, right?
I'm on the Cape Troyes and off the Cape, Wareham.
Wareham's the Cape, isn't it?
We're the I forget what the hell we're called. We're like the
it's not. I
the
think
entrance to the Cape.
Yeah, because it's before you get to the bridges. So.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
we're
not
just
over
on
the bridge.
different sides of the bridge.
I should know this, being a guy from the South Shore. I grew up in Whitman and live in Hanson. But
okay.
My parents used to have a little tiny little cottage that was, about 350 square feet. It was wonderful down in Sandwich, and so
that's where I am.
For a couple of years.
That's where Neil is.
Yeah, it's a really nice little town there. For a couple of years they had it, and then they sold it, but it was a lot of fun.
Mm. Yeah,
maybe I saw him.
Say it again.
I said maybe I saw them when they were in town.
You never know. So yeah, we used to go. I would go down with them during the summer. This was like 1984, 85 range, and then. But I could probably drive around and show it to you, but I couldn't tell you street names or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
This must be riveting for all the folks that are listening.
Well, it is for the people that don't believe there really is a town of Sandwich.
Yeah, well, I like last year, this became a meme, the Sandwich Police, because someone not from around here saw a picture of a cop car that says Sandwich Police on it, and then it became a meme.
Police. That's great.
And then everyone in the world knew me. And so the first few times it was very funny. But after a while, I was like, "Yeah, I know." And I feel bad. It's like I don't want to just ignore it, but it's like I've seen it now, 875 times. Yeah.
Well, do you notice people start more and more to just their comments a meme? It's like, so we're past the point of just someone putting a funny a meme. Funny people tweet a meme or post a meme, but we're at the point now where that's now kind of becoming the communication, right?
It's true.
There's so many memes that do hold meaning, whether it's from a film or through just an invented idea that people put on there. But I was thinking of this idea for a short where you have, couldn't you picture in the future where people are just kind of communicating?
It's like newspeak. It's like newspeak. Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
They almost do now. I mean, a lot of people get their news from memes.
Well, yeah. So, and it's like for every sentence you say, there's a Friends / SpongeBob / you name the cultural reference. There's something for it with a GIF. Every single thing, The Office, everything. You name the thing. It's now on their phones. It's like a function of Facebook and texting. It's right at our fingertips.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely the meme.
I don't know what any of this says, but I think it's just fascinating to see how it's all going. It's it's both interesting. It's exciting and scary. Did you guys?
Well, I think people even see memes and think whatever's on them is fact.
Well, yeah. People think it's somehow every meme is just somehow it just proves something. You know what I mean? It's some kind of official record just because it's been memed. Listen, I've made GIFs or GIFs, however you call them, of Manicorn. I'm telling you right now, if there's GIFs or GIFs of Manicorn, that means none of it means shit. But you'll hear people put a meme as the answer to an argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Everything's been settled then. Sorry, move on.
I just think that means we're very lazy as a people.
Yeah, I think that's the lowest.
We
form
just get
of
lazier and lazier.
Yeah, it's
that's where it's maybe potentially scary to think it's the evolution, of communication. You see, I don't want. Now I'm going to sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but you see, texting is devolving to the point where people are no longer using necessarily. I'm not saying we got to use great grammar when we're texting, but it's kind of become more acceptable that communication in that sense is not even following any spelling grammar rules kind of thing. So if that's the next extension, and then, memes, and it's all, it's communication is changing dramatically and rapidly. And I'm not saying this is even bad. It feels bad and it feels scary because I'm getting old.
It does.
Because I'm getting old, and for younger folks, I'm sure it's not as scary.
Yeah. Here's an idea for a short for you. Very short.
Please.
It'd just be like
Short.
a short. It'd be like a stand-up comedian, and the crowd just holds up signs that say LOL on them.
He has a meme that he puts up, and then they respond with the
There you go.
Too much
Yeah,
effort
he's
to
like,
laugh.
he's like the new Carrot Top. He's a meme.
Well, to that point, I mean, I'm guilty of it. You know how we're so quick to use our emotions now on Facebook posts. Like I'm very generous with the hearts and the shocks and the
Sure.
the laughing
Oh,
hearts.
yeah, I do that too.
Yeah, so the LOL goes up, you know, or the happy face. It's a lot easier than actually laughing, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
LOL.
laughing
That's
takes
good.
energy. So
Yeah. Then if you LMAO, then you know they've really said something fun.
Then yeah,
then you got the crowd at that point in time.
you hit the big time.
Yep.
Exactly. Now I could not find this actually. Do you have like a Facebook besides your just Facebook page? Do you have like a page where all your stuff goes to?
So there is a Facebook page, Friday Night Films. That I don't know if there's any other Friday Night Films on Facebook, but there is a page that I post photos when when the short's being made and the next thing, and when it's playing at local festivals, whatever. And then on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a Vimeo channel, but YouTube, I just keep the focus
I
on
like
YouTube a little bit.
YouTube too.
Yeah, it's just easier for me, whatever. But I have, a Vimeo page, but I tend to, the focus is a little bit more on the YouTube just because it's, easier for me to work with, whatever. But the easiest way to find the YouTube page, ironically, is because Manicorn, it's the top search on Manicorn. If you search Manicorn, the short film Manicorn,
Mm-hmm.
then you can just click on the page from there, and it gets you to all of the foolishness of the rest of our videos. And there's
I did subscribe to you earlier on YouTube.
I'll have to subscribe back. I got to find you on there.
All right.
Yeah, there's a wild collection of some of them are funny, some of them are embarrassing, some are embarrassing and funny, and some of them are just bad. But I think none of them are boring.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's worth diving in a little bit.
Yeah. So I did find, and I just joined your Friday Night Films. It's very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be sure to find you on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and I like this. I like now I can see the little tiny house, with the big pile of dirt on the green screen, which makes me it makes me laugh. I like that.
Yeah, what's kind of funny is so JB Sapienza, who is my co-producer, co-writer on this, he was he was just so helpful helping me write it. And originally, I'm going to give some stuff away, but he came up with the idea of destroying a house, and I'm probably giving away a lot, but the reality is, who's going to freaking see these things anyways? But he just, there's this miniature house and these tiny clones, destroying the house, and it was just a perfect idea. And I don't want to say more because if you see the film, I don't want to spoil too much. But having said that, though, it was breaking my heart, the idea of destroying any of these houses. Mm-hmm. So, do you know the term they use in a film when, like, it's the main R2-D2, the main Falcon, or the main car that doesn't get destroyed? You know what they call it? I just learned this. It's called the hero. When they have all these other ones that are going to get destroyed, those are the others. So I had a duplicate done of that house. Where, there's miniature, wallpaper in it, and there's I use my cell phone, the flashlight in it to radiate, so it makes it seem like there's really lights inside. So I kind of took the roof off and put a little cell phone flashlight on, and there's blue and black. But with the second version, it's a real cheaper version. I didn't put as much time and attention to it. So that's the non-hero.
Very cool.
I geek out about this stuff. Sorry.
I like it. I was very happy when I saw
something new now.
Thank you.
I'm honestly scrolling through here, and it's cool looking at the house being built. Yeah, I wouldn't it either. It's pretty sweet.
That was from Michael's. I got one of those little houses, and a lot of the props are either my kids' toys or arts and crafts from the local, Michaels.
That's very cool. All right. Well, it's been awesome to have you on the show, and we'll have you back if you.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. It was great. I appreciate the time, guys. Have a great night, man.
Yeah. You as well.
The same.
A lot of
Thank
fun.
you much.
Enjoy the time, guys.
Thanks, man. And by the way, I also really
Yeah.
like this. The snowman. He's pretty sweet.
The Bombless Snowman, I'm kind of embarrassed to say how many snowman videos we've made, but yeah, the MTV Bombless Snowman, True Life, is worth checking out. Thank you, buddy.
Is he the snowman of Boston or
that? All right, hold on a second. I know I'm going to go here.
The Yeti of Boston, I guess.
So that's a fascinating story. So they're unconnected, and to start a little controversy here. He's the Yeti of Boston, but I just, you look at some of these YouTube videos, they've been around for a while, is all I'll say. No, but he's the famous one. My one that was on, mine haven't, become as famous, but I think I have some fun snowman videos on my channel nonetheless. But it's a totally different guy.
All right. Very cool. All right. We'll be back.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks,
you as well. Thanks.
Take care.
Greetings from Tromaville. This is Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. You know, folks, when we're not making those great movies like Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, and Terra Firma, and Tromeo and Juliet, we like to kick back and listen to Without Your Head, because Without Your Head is the greatest entertainment on the face of the earth. Yes, listen to Without Your Head. The Troma team does, and the Troma team's been around for 35 years.